How's that water from Portland? It seemed to be turning into wine out there, huh? Sech Kulawit. Good evening. In me, my mama, my relatives. My name is Pio Pio Mox Mox, which means yellowbird. And as I mentioned, I'm the hereditary traditional chief of the Walla Wallas. You might wonder why a guy so young like me could do that, huh? Well, I'm still working on it. My homeland is in Northeast Oregon. People might know of Pendleton. Anybody been to Pendleton Round up here? Yeah. Anybody been to the Letter Buck Room here? All right, now I know where you're from. All right. But I'm also from Southeast Washington, along Inchiwana. Inchiwana is the big river, the Columbia River. It comes right by our beautiful city here. And that's where I come from for thousands and thousands and thousands of generations. But I want to thank the board and the staff of Climate Solutions for inviting me here. Meredith called me up. She says, Donald, what do you think? I go, man, I'm like a nobody. I see all these speakers you got coming in, and it's even hard to follow the people who have been up here. Let's give them a round of applause, because those are the people who are working for you right here. But we're really here to talk about the impacts, our efforts, and solutions to the global climate emergency. We're talking about an emergency. You know, I look at these young people out here, and I see the hope and the dream they have, but they have courage, and I think that's the important part of it. This evening, I want to speak first about what I call our sacred obligations and values. As Natitite, that means human beings, Natitite in my language. I will briefly examine our history and native prophecies, so you know that long before people came to our homeland, these values and prophecies have been here, ingrained in our people for thousands and thousands of years. But I also want to speak about the resiliency of people and this earth. A lot of times people, oh, you know what? We can be very insignificant as a species, or we can be very powerful. And last, I want you to think about why we need what people have been talking about: courage, action, and determination to fight for these young people who are here with us, to fight for our future. And it must be a future where we realize we are but one of 8 million species on this planet. Think about that. And that for us to survive, we must live in balance with all species. More water. Who's driving tonight? Drink water. In 2015, I was fortunate to be at the United Nations Paris Climate Accord. How many people were there in this crowd? Right on. I think I saw you guys there. Remember the long lines to security? They were going, do you guys really want to go? They had just had these horrific attacks. And we said, hell yeah, we're going. Our life depends on it. And there were indigenous people from around the world that came to represent their livelihoods, their cultures, their homelands, and ultimately their fight for their survival. I heard them speak passionately about their beliefs and sacred obligations and values for the earth and for all life. They reaffirmed to me and they substantiated that indigenous people have fundamental values and worldviews that all of us need to understand, to evaluate, and to embrace, to restore our global balance and to perpetuate humankind. Many of the indigenous people, thank you. Many of the indigenous people identified these as ancient sacred truths or laws. In my language, we call it Tamanwit, the great law. And it was something we were given at the beginning of creation. And these are very important principles that we need to think about as we go forward. One is respect. Respect for this land. It is a living land. Respect for the water, the air, the plants, the animals, the fish, Mother Earth, and all of creation, and thereby respecting the Creator. And Tamanwit, the great law that is placed upon this earth. Number two, that everything is interrelated, interconnected, and interreliant, just like all of us, one family in this room. And three, reciprocity. That is vital. The practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit. What we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. We did not believe we have dominion over the earth and the right to exploit resources for our personal benefit. But that we are part of the earth, and it is part of us. All of us will go back into this ground. Our bodies will go back into this ground. We call it itatamani. Each one of our days are counted. And each of us will return to this earth. And hopefully, our body will come back, our spirit will come back for our children and future generations. We believe that we only borrow this land from our future generations. And we are duty-bound and carry the burden, but also the honor to take care of all life. We believe these spiritual covenants should always guide our actions. And we must teach our children and grandchildren. How many of you here have children and grandchildren? Those are the ones we're thinking of right now. Thank you, right on. He loves his grandkids, right? You know, sometimes they're bad, but hey, you know what? Give them a whooping and say, hey, you know, I'm working my ass off for you guys right now, huh? I'm just kidding. All my grandkids are good. But it's important that we learn from our history. Our history in America. We also need to learn from ancient prophecies and teachings in order to change our future. And some people think about these, oh, they're legends and stories, but they come from the earth. Some tribal prophecies and beliefs acknowledge that there have been 3 worlds before this one that we live on that have been destroyed because we did not live in balance with the natural order. We became greedy and we forgot Tamanwit, the great law. The Hopi, they talk about the 3 previous worlds and the fate of our 4th world we live in now. Our Washit songs, our religious songs, the one that I sang, they talk about a time where the earth The earth is cleansed by fire because we forgot the sacred law. We forgot those three principles of our life on this earth. And today we continue those songs. We continue those teachings. And we try to give that value and vision to our young children. Here in the United States, there are 573 tribes. How many of y'all know that? All right. You guys took my class at Portland State, didn't you? 573. The Native people have been the most resilient, adaptive survivalists in the world. We have survived 500 years of American genocidal policy. We have been forced and removed and relocated millions of Native people. There's been a loss of billions of acres of Aboriginal lands, decimation by war and disease, thousands of Native children taken from their families and put in American boarding schools, never to return home. The once great buffalo populations numbered between 30 and 60 million. They were decimated in less than 100 years from the plains. And here in the Columbia, where we had over 16 million salmon, these populations right in this river, the Willamette, the Inchiwana, are facing near extinction. Today, our Aboriginal lands and people are still being attacked by the Trump administration. Whether that be at Standing Rock, at Bears Ear, at XL and Keystone Pipelines, at Jordan Cove, at the tar sands, the list goes on and on. All for oil, gas, and coal extraction, profits and greed. Now, I'm only 58, but I imagine the families of generations before me who have lived through this are still surviving today. These projects will only accelerate and deepen the climate crisis we face. But we are still fighting to uphold our sacred obligations and protect all of our lands. All of our lands. We're all here together. All around us, we are seeing life-threatening impacts and ecological systems collapse. Wildfires in the Amazon. How many heard about that? Well, if you didn't, I don't know where you were. Wildfires in Amazon. We had some calls from the Amazon people, our native people down there. Wildfires in Alaska. I was just up there. Can you imagine? Here in the 48, I went up to a place called Igiugig, a village on Lake Iliamna, 77-mile lake, the biggest lake in Alaska. And the people there, the village people, the Alaskan natives, have taken care of that land for thousands of years. You can go out into that lake, dip your water into that lake, and you can drink it. And unfortunately, it's better than Portland's water. But imagine that. We are seeing natural decline at global rates unprecedented in human history. A recent United Nations report says up to 1 million of the estimated 8 million plants and animal species at Earth are at risk of extinction, many of them within decades. How many of you are going to live here another decade? How about another 2 decades? How about another 3 decades? Where's my young people at? We ain't going nowhere, young people, right? But the report authors state that we are eroding the very foundations of our economies, our livelihoods, food security, health, and quality of life worldwide, right now. The science of climate change has been clear for many years. The planet is warming. Humans are responsible. It is serious, and we know how to address it. Scientists also know that there are certain warming thresholds after which we hit irreversible tipping points. Have you guys heard about this? I don't want to depress people in here, but these are the facts. Such as the melting of West Antarctic ice sheet, the acidification of oceans, and the loss of marine life, the thawing of Arctic permafrost. And I was just up in Alaska, and my native people up there are saying, hey, we're seeing the change of the caribou. Our food is changing from us. We can't go onto these ice sheets anymore to hunt the walrus and the seal because they're too thin. They're seeing it firsthand. So we must do something, and we must limit our global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius to avert these thresholds. Among the most important elements of the report is an estimation that the world must have zero emissions, and that's what we're talking about here, right here in Oregon. I heard people talking about, well, Oregon's so small, it's insignificant, we don't really care. I go, what? What are you talking about? We're insignificant? What we do here affects the globe, and what they do in China affects us. And we know that if we don't do something, by mid-century, we're going to see some major, unavoidable impacts. The burning of fossil fuels is the main cause of these emissions, and to address the climate crisis, we must immediately enter a new era, a just transition to renewable energy. And that's what we're talking about here. That's what they're talking about in New Zealand. That's what they're talking about around the world. But we have to do it in our home. We must be clear about both the dire conditions we face, but also the courage and the opportunity for action. And that's what we've been talking about tonight, right? Taking action. Technology and industrial innovations, such as cheap, renewable energy, are coming faster and faster. Remember that a long time ago, these solar panels, like, oh God, they cost so much. But they're coming faster and faster. Local, city, and the city of Portland, right? The city of Portland's taking action, right? Huh? Where's my Portland people? States, tribal, and national governments are committed to cutting carbon, banning pollutants, protecting species, and replanting our forests. Our tribes of the Northwest and around the country are taking actions and also accelerating our efforts as well. We're joining you in this very important world-defining issue. The Blue Lake Rancheria, and I'm going to talk about some examples. The Blue Lake Rancheria. Anybody been down to Northern Cal? I went to Humboldt State University, right? I didn't inhale. Hey, I'm just kidding. I went to school. I'm a fisheries scientist down there, Humboldt State. You guys who are laughing know where I came from, right? But Blue Lake is comprised of the Wyatt, the Yurok, and the Hoopa tribes, and are nationally recognized leaders in reversing climate change, the small community. The tribe is focused on building low-carbon resilience across 5 sectors: energy, water, food, communications, and transportation. They're taking that challenge. They began their climate action planning in 2008, and to date, they have reduced their energy consumption by 40% from 2014. That's only 5 years. That's only 5 years, 40%. And they will reach zero by 2030. 2030. The Navajo Nation, the largest land-based tribe in the U.S., over 27,000 square miles, and the size of West Virginia. Anybody from West Virginia here? Okay. I didn't think so. I just got to ask. But the Navajo Nation rejected its energy company, because they have their own energy company, investments in coal in Wyoming. And they said the Navajo Nation that was once dependent on coal for jobs is investing in solar. And instead, they broke ground on the second phase of the Kayenta Solar Project to provide renewable energy for 36,000 homes and 55 megawatts throughout Arizona. And that's the progress we're making right now. Here in Oregon, in good old Oregon, my tribe, the Umatilla tribe, installed weatherization, solar carports. Anybody been under a solar carport? You don't even know it, do you? And a 50-kilowatt wind turbine at Temasek Cultural Institute. Anybody been up to Temasek Cultural Institute? Thank you. And they've reduced their energy consumption by over 75%, saving them thousands and thousands of dollars a year. In 2018, the Umatilla tribe built a 45,000 square foot health facility called Yellowhawk. And that facility is designed to be net zero. We work with the Energy Trust of Oregon, and we're on our way. We have solar panels, we have a solar carport, and it's my friend from Energy Trust. Thank you for helping us. It's these type of partnerships that allow us to get where we're at. I'm really proud to be here in Oregon. I'm proud to work with progressive climate organizations like my good friends at Renew Oregon. Where are you at, my Renew Oregon people? Yeah. And what I call the youth activists, the Renew crew. Where's the Renew crew back there? The Oregon Environmental Council. Piccoon, where's my Piccoon people at? Piccoon. Sustainable Northwest. My organization, Affiliate Tribes of Northwest Indians, and so many others. I see our leadership from the Senate and the representatives here. Good to see you, my brother. Mike Dembro. Yeah. He was in the fight. Karin, I seen you here. Karin Powers. Ken Helm. Ken Helm. There's others in here. We appreciate you standing there together with all of us. Yeah, I'll do a double for Karin over there. But then also climate solutions. Climate solutions. As an organization, Climate Solutions' approach and actions to address the climate emergency is guided by its key values of justice, respect, perseverance, integrity, collaboration, and most importantly, determination. We ain't giving up, are we? And this approach is key to bringing diverse communities together, to build alliances and find solutions to our climate work here in Oregon and across the world. As you may know, these and many organizations here today are continuing the fight for climate action and solutions here in Oregon. While the Oregon Clean Energy Jobs Bill did not pass in the 2019 legislature, and I remember we were all there. The whole crew were like sitting around. It was like when Trump got elected in 2016. No offense to my Republican friends. We're all sitting around going, dang. A bunch of tribes in Syracuse, and we had a big tribal gathering on climate change, and it was like, oh, Hillary's going to win. It's going to be good. And whoa. But our tribal leader said, nope, you stand up. We ain't going nowhere. We've been here thousands of years. We'll be here for thousands of years more, and we're going to fight to the end. Here we go. And that's what we're going to do here in Oregon. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud of their courage and determination. These organizations, your board members, the staff that have been out there, the leadership in our legislature, the people in this room and your families. You know, we need to applaud and thank you for your work because you're working for the seventh generation. And no time in the history of the world have we faced such a challenge. Our lives and that of our children and the future generations depend on us and them, these young people. People are rising up in popular protests to pressure policymakers and companies to change direction. The global climate strike had millions of people, and they were rising up, demanding action. As we mentioned, the Greta Thunberg and Dakota Iron Eyes from Standing Rock, they marched together. And they're going to be continuing. They're not giving up, and neither are we. I'm very thankful to be here today with you all, my brothers and sisters. We know our time is short, but we know we're powerful. We're powerful together. We have a spiritual covenant, a spiritual belief that will help us, that will guide us way beyond the power and the money. That will mean nothing. I'm 58 years old. I've lived 21,431 days. That's a damn long time. What will I do for my remaining days? And what will you do? I can only look into my kids, my grandkids' eyes and say, I did the best I could. Each of our children are these Greta Thunbergs. And they're up here fighting with us. And they're saying now is the time for action. We must have courage, action, and determination. Courage, action, and determination. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming, whether we like it or not. But together, we are prepared to move forward. I thank you for the time today. I thank you for all the work. And we're going to go out and multiply 10 times. And we're going to pass legislation here in Oregon. And we're going to be one of the leaders in the country. And across the world, people are going to go, what's up with those people in Oregon? Because they're powerful, powerful people. Thank you so much.